An unusual alliance of 8 ideologically diverse political parties has ousted Israel's longest-serving Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. With little in common besides the desire to unseat Netanyahu, the fragile coalition of right-wing, left-wing, centrist and Arab parties plans to avoid sweeping moves on hot-button issues, such as its policy towards the Palestinians. Instead, they'll focus on domestic policy.
The hardships, not an exaggerated word in this case, of forming a unity government are behind us. And now the citizens of Israel, all of them are looking up at us, and we must deliver. We will act together in partnership and responsibility to heal the rift among the people and immediately bring the country back to functionality after a long period of paralysis and strife. We are looking ahead.
Under a power-sharing deal, Bennett, an Orthodox Jew and tech millionaire, will be prime minister until 2023. Yair Lapid from the centrist Yesh Atid party will then take over for the next 2 years. Nationalist Avigdor Lieberman has been appointed finance minister. He says a 2-year budget will be drafted within 140 days. Israel has not passed a budget since March 2018. Since then, it's been working with a month-to-month budget rather than annual allocations.
This government has a very difficult path ahead of it, a narrow parliamentary majority, very heterogeneous government, and in this respect it will be challenging to keep it together. At the same time, the bar for performance is quite low. It needs to pass a budget to make a reasonable and competent nominations.
As it struggled with the pandemic, Israel's economy contracted 2.6% in 2020. But analysts say growth could hit as much as 6% this year. Israel was one of the first countries to reopen after vaccinating its residents faster than any other nation in the world. Netanyahu had been widely praised for securing Pfizer vaccines early. But after he was ousted, thousands turned out across the country to celebrate.
After 12 years of having Netanyahu as prime minister and every election failing to replace him, including 4 elections in the past 2 years, and it's finally happening. We finally achieved it.
But now opposition leader Netanyahu has promised to come back, saying he'll bring down the fragile government by exploiting its narrow majority and deep ideological divisions. Natasha Hussain, TRT World.
Let's get more on this with Naomi Feldman in West Jerusalem. She's an economics professor at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Welcome to the show. Now, it's been a tumultuous couple of years as far as politics goes. How has Israel's economy fared through conflict, political upheaval, and a pandemic?
So despite the political problems, the economy has actually been doing quite well. Israel has been using a prorated version of the 2019 budget, and it's just been taking it quarter by quarter and essentially adapting that budget moving forward. So it's not the ideal situation, and it certainly led to problems during the COVID pandemic because it hindered the government from instilling certain policies that would have needed budgetary approval. And so because of that, Israel's hands were tied a little bit during the pandemic. So a first priority is going to be to set that new budget going forward and to focus on the important issues sort of coming out of COVID and how to get the economy rolling again.
So now the government has said that they will present a new budget in 140 days. What do you think will be the key priorities in that legislation?
So, of course, the key priorities are going to deal with getting the economy out of the COVID pandemic. Some of this will involve reskilling. There are certainly professions that have become obsolete during the pandemic, and people will need to get reskilled and to move into new professions. It's going to have to deal with getting people out of unemployment into employment. Those are going to be some of the top priorities. A lot of infrastructure is important. For example, right now, Israel should be taking advantage of the fact that interest rates are still relatively low, and there are a lot of high return issues that the government can deal with in terms of investing in roads, infrastructure for the internet, and things like that.
And very quickly, considering that this new government was formed with such a thin majority and it's an alliance of 8 different parties that span the political spectrum, How much of a challenge do you perceive being able to come with a consensus on the budget is going to be?
So this is going to be a major challenge. You have people who are definitely to the right, sort of Thatcher-esque in their views on how the economy should be working, to those who are more on the left, who view that there should be increased government spending on a whole plethora of social policies. So this is going to be part of the politics of the situation. And it's going to be difficult. I won't deny that.
All right, thank you very much, Naomi Feldman, on her views on what the priorities or economic priorities of the next government are going to be in Israel.